Dating is quite difficult in 2021, and maybe not just in 2021, but it's always been difficult. I also think that people that never found dating difficult probably will never find dating difficult. You know those people in your life that seems to always have a girlfriend, always have a boyfriend, back to back to back to back, and they never seem to have trouble finding someone around them. Well, frankly, I am not one of those people, and with all the free time I have, being alone and lonely, I put some thought into what makes dating so difficult in 2021. So here we go. Number one, and quite ironically, I think dating apps make dating difficult in 2021. Things like Tinder and Hinge and Bumble, and Coffee Meets Bagel. All these apps I think are a negative to dating. I know people have met through these apps. I actually know people personally that have married through these apps, are in happy marriages. I'm talking about the fact that because you have access to a dating app, and you know that there exists a virtual world out there that allows you to have access to thousands and thousands of girls, thousands and thousands of guys. You can decide whether or not you can see someone on the app depending on their height, on their age, on their race, on their political views, on their religious views. One, you're already pre-filtering people out based on their specification, which I understand that most people do anyways, subconsciously. I do that. I think people have wants and needs, and you should respect that. You shouldn't force people to have a certain set of beauty standards or needs and wants from their significant other. That is their business. But limiting that on these apps literally limit you from possibly meeting that person who might not have all the qualifications you are looking for, but may be the one. Maybe he's 5'11" and not 6 feet, but he is the greatest guy ever, and you just happen to filter him out because you want 6 foot and over. And I'm not saying this just because I'm 5'11", but more importantly, I think it's this access idea, this idea that there's always more out there. And as you're swiping and as you're flipping, as you're yes and knowing, you're doing it because there might be someone slightly better. I know for a fact people are on these apps talking to multiple people at once, which isn't necessarily a problem, but you're always playing this measuring game where you're talking to guy A, and you know guy B has everything guy A has, but he's slightly taller, makes slightly more money, or is slightly handsomer, slightly nicer, slightly more aligned with your views. So you're gonna switch over to guy B. And then once you're on guy B, guy C likes you. And you're like, whoa, time to switch over to guy C because he's everything guy B has, but more. Anyway, it also makes detachment very easy. I think because the only access point to people you meet over an app is not necessarily through an organization, a school or a church or a company that you constantly meet regardless of needing to put the effort. On an app, if you meet someone, you go on a date and you're like, I'm not really feeling this person anymore, you can immediately cut them off by just not talking to them anymore. Detaching yourself from this person is so easy, which could be a great thing. If the guy or the girl is creepy, if the guy or the girl is just not your taste and they keep clinging on, then it's a great thing that it's very easy to let someone go. But I also think it makes human relationships a lot less genuine, a lot less tighter, and it makes it very easy to just cut them off. And then there's a whole influx of cultural, current day generation issues that make dating even more so difficult. Everyone is busy, busy, busy. I made a video on hustle culture. Everyone is very focused on themselves right now, which isn't a bad thing. I'm very focused on myself too. I love myself. Everyone should focus on themselves, and I think my mantra, my go-to slogan in life is, unless you love yourself, you can't love others. I genuinely believe in that. But there's a difference between loving yourself and solely focusing on yourself by not having time for others. I'm not really sure what the point of improving yourself, enhancing yourself, making yourself richer, better looking, more fit, if you're not going to share that beauty and your wealth and you as a person with others. Ultimately, I think the point to make yourself better, to make yourself feel better, look better, is one, obviously, to make yourself feel better, make yourself more confident about yourself. But two, it's probably inherently to attract others and mingle with others and look good in front of others. And I don't think that's a bad thing. But people are so obsessed with being busy about themselves, being so hyper-focused about improving oneself, that I think many of these people are gonna be at the hustle, making a lot of money, 15 streams of income, 6-pack, 8-pack, 12-pack, chiseled chin, and then they're gonna blink and they're gonna be 35 and single. And at that point, what's the point? I'm not saying marriage and relationship should be the only driver in life. I think there is something to be said about the fulfillment and the happiness that comes from being with someone else and creating a family. Along the same lines, kind of, there's the whole cost component. Everything costs money. Things are very expensive. Dating is a cost.
Boo!
And obviously you shouldn't think of dating as a cost if you actually love that person. And hopefully the person you're dating or will date is not someone that excessively wrongly spends money. I think that's a very important quality to look at when you're about to date someone. But if you care about this person, you want to do well, you want to buy them good presents, you want to take them out to meals, you want to drive them around, you want to do good to each other, and those are all money costs, and the young 20s, middle 20s, late 20s generation is not necessarily the richest group of people, and dating is a cost. It's difficult to think about all this money stuff if you're trying to get involved in a relationship, but every time you're out in the relationship, you're like, dang, if I spend this much money on drinks and this much money on appetizer, could I survive next week? I think higher and higher and higher standards are being applied to dating and finding a suitor. People are so qualified nowadays. Everyone has so many streams of income. People are making lots of money. I know that kind of contradicts the whole point about people not having money in my previous point, but I think people make even more and more money, but things cost even more and more, and people feel continuously inadequate to engage in relationships. People are very high qualified. People are very, very strong in everything they do. And because of that, the standards that they have for others also constantly go up. It's really hard to meet those standards, and I think, similar to my point about dating apps, as you find someone, you constantly compare and think about, is this person better than the next person I can find that's more qualified than this person? Is this person more qualified than me? Is that a problem? Do I want this person to be more qualified? We're a very specs-based world right now, and I think that is extremely toxic at times. Cop-out answer, but social media, also a big problem. And I don't really mean this in terms of being addicted to social media or needing to always beat others on social media, but I think the bigger issue is that there's such a big digital footprint now. Before you even meet someone, you can instantly get an understanding of what kind of person they are, what they're into, what their worldviews are. You can basically, to a certain degree, really understand what this person's about before you even meet them, have preconceived notions, and if you're getting introduced to this person through someone, or if you're meeting this person through an app, or you've heard about this person and now you're about to go on a date with them, before you even meet them, you're gonna search them up, and you've seen their Instagram, you've seen their LinkedIn, maybe they have a YouTube persona, and you're like, dang, this guy sucks and he talks too fast.
I love myself.
You go into that meeting and that person might have a completely different digital persona than who they actually are, which might be a problem of its own. But having that preconceived notion also makes you self-filter out those individuals. Or if you are giving them a chance, it's really impossible to detach that idea you have of them as you're meeting them, and you're gonna project that onto them. Worldview differences, this has probably always been a problem. I think our generation right now is more opinionated than ever, which isn't a bad thing. We're very informed, or hope to be informed. Everyone seems to be all about justice and their view of social problems and political views, religious views, which are great things. I'm a pretty opinionated person myself, but I think everyone is so heightened in terms of their polarization on things that perhaps that person is great, that person has everything that you're looking for, but that person is different from you on that one point that you probably could get over if you love each other enough, and part of loving is getting over differences. But when you hear that a person is thinking a certain way about an issue that you feel strongly about, this culture right now is super heightened in terms of how much viewpoints matter, how much opinions decide what kind of person you are. And I think that also highly limits dating in 2021. And then lastly, I think this is more of a COVID issue. Hopefully this gets resolved. But accessibility. Right now, I've talked about this video on my friend's video before, but the only way you can meet people as an adult in general is either through dating apps, through people you already know, or reconnecting with people you already know. And I think because public spaces are relatively limited right now, and I know things are opening up, but we're still amidst the pandemic, and the mere accessibility to human beings is a huge hurdle to get over in 2021. And unless you've already had a stable friend social circle coming into the pandemic, it's probably very hard to find new circles, at least bigger circles that you can engage in and find potential partners. And hopefully there is a boom of this as people are angsty and all their social needs have been cramped up for a year and a half. But that is definitely also a current problem in 2021. Today, I addressed the difficulties that I think are facing us as a generation, as us as a group of people, humanity, going into the dating life in 2021, the mating life in 2021. Perhaps these are just problems that I have. Perhaps I am weirdly lonely right now and overthinking things that shouldn't matter and I should just go get after it. And my one sentence summary for the day, I am single. As always, thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Let's go!